Welcome to Television Sydney News. I'm Alex Plepper. It's great to have you with us. In this week's bulletin, a man crushed to death on the Hume Highway, Parramatta restaurant owners celebrate as a smoking ban is overturned, and a psychic pooch predicts the winners of soccer's Euro 2012. But first, the state government's backflip on a direct rail link from Sydney to the northwest has caused outrage. The Northwest Rail Link will now terminate at Chatswood because the single-deck trains it will use can't travel on the existing double-deck network. Transport Minister Gladys Berejiklian has tried to soften the blow, saying the line will be the first in Sydney to deliver world-class rail technology on the network.
If there's a message I can convey to people is this will be the best piece of infrastructure our state's ever seen when it comes to rail. It'll be world class, it'll be the most convenient system, and we're investing so much money. I mean, up to $8 billion is a lot of money. We need to get it right, and we need to provide what is best for the customer, and that's why I will always stand by our decisions. I won't make a decision that I don't think is in the best interest of the customer, and certainly in the best interest of our rail future. This is the biggest infrastructure project a state government has embarked upon since the Harbour Bridge. We want to get it right, and that's why we've done our homework, and the best thing we can provide for you is a system that is modern, efficient, and on par with the best practice in the world. And other cities in the world have transport systems that are convenient and efficient. Why shouldn't we in Sydney? And the residents of the Northwest have waited a long time to have this train line. Let's give you the best available rather than giving you a system which is outdated.
But angry residents say they're being penalised because of where they live. The Hills Transport Working Group says the line will be nothing more than a shuttle service and criticised the government for seeking to involve the private sector.
We believe very strongly that if the private sector is best at doing something, we should let them do it. Governments are very good at planning, at building, at making sure that we provide the framework. The private sector is very good at customer service and in delivering these projects around the world. We want to make sure that we benefit of the technology that exists around the world. And the extensive industry process which Rod has overseen, we had over 30 submissions from the best and brightest companies around Australia and the world about how to deliver a service like this. And all the conclusions were the same, and that's what is very encouraging, that no matter which approach you took, the conclusion was that a privately run single-deck service would be the best thing for the people of the Northwest, but also for the future of our network. Let's define convenience. Convenience is getting to your destination in the quickest time possible and the most seamless time possible. And convenience for me is I'd rather save time getting somewhere, and if I have to cross a platform for 3 minutes, and wait for a train for 3 minutes, I'd much rather do that than sit in traffic for an hour and a half. So you really have to put that into perspective, and there isn't a system in the world in a major city where people don't change.
A man believed to be aged in his 20s died instantly after a 20-tonne container fell off a truck in Liverpool and crushed his car on Thursday. The truck was turning onto the Cumberland Highway when it hit a median strip and toppled onto the wrong side of the road. Metropolitan Crash Unit Commander Inspector Stephen Blair said the Toyota Camry the man was driving was crushed to near beyond recognition. The man was the only occupant of the car and died instantly. The 46-year-old truck driver suffered chest injuries and was taken to Liverpool Hospital, where he underwent mandatory blood and urine tests. Parramatta restaurant owners are celebrating a court ruling saying Parramatta Council's smoking ban in outdoor seating areas is invalid. But the victory could be short-lived after Justice Peter Briscoe ruled in the Land and Environment Court that the ban only failed because the council's policy did not include a definition of smoking. A council spokesman says Justice Briscoe's decision means the council still has the power to ban smoking and only needs to rectify its policy wording. Stone Quarry residents are planning to fight a proposal to rezone almost 120 hectares of land west of Picton. Property developer Brad Core has submitted the application after deciding its plans for a hotel resort and golf course on the site are no longer feasible. If approved, the rezoning will create about 450 low-density residential lots, but Stone Quarry Community Association President Bill Dawes says the resort will provide jobs and tourism opportunities for Wallandilly Shire. A local councillor has criticised the removal of a St Helens Park sign that's provided motorists with fatality figures along the notorious stretch of Appin Road for more than 10 years. Roads and Maritime Services says the sign is too costly to update each time a death occurs, but Campbelltown councillor Fred Borg argues it's helped create awareness about possible dangers on the road and should be reinstated. 28 people have died in motor vehicle incidents along Appin Road since 1995. Teachers continued industrial action this week against reforms giving more financial power and autonomy to public school principals. The backlash from the local schools' local decisions policy has already resulted in several strikes, with the union refusing to rule out further action. Teachers Federation representative Antoinette Siriani from Granville South Creative and Performing Arts High School says the government is running away from its responsibility to public education. Teachers fear the new policy will force principals to hire casual rather than permanent teachers in order to balance the books. A group of Kellyville Ridge residents say they are gutted after last week's decision to allow the controversial Maryville Road development to go ahead. The Sydney West Joint Regional Planning Panel approved the 17 mixed-use commercial premises and 5-storey residential unit development last week. Rosie Bonham, who led the community fight against the development for 3 years, said residents were demanding answers from Planning Minister Brad Hazzard. Ms Bonham said Blacktown councillors unanimously supported the residents in their opposition to the proposal, but the panel did not listen. Residents oppose the development because they argue it will make the already hazardous intersection near the site too dangerous. Teenagers from around Western Sydney got to try out different trades during a TAFE Expo this week. More than 1,700 young people were given the opportunity to try 15 trades, including bricklaying, spray painting, metalwork and childcare. TAFE New South Wales manager Adam Lucas said trades featured on the day included several that struggled to attract workers.
The big skill shortage areas at the moment are in the manufacturing and engineering trades, a lot of the construction trades as well. We've had a big increase in hospitality and also some of the more notoriety construction trades such as landscaping and carpentry. And a lot of that's got to heavily rely on positive media programs at the moment, such as your Block and your Jamie Drury's of the world and so forth.
Students from 45 Western Sydney schools and 15 youth organisations turned out to meet with TAFE teachers, apprentices and Australian Defence Force representatives, with the majority gravitating towards the hospitality, hair and vehicle trade stands.
There is a steady increase in TAFE's courses. We do put that down to a lot of the good publicity that TAFE does do, but in line with the other partners as well, and getting out there and showcasing what TAFE does have to offer.
Winston Hills resident Molly Coleman is preparing to travel to Scotland to showcase her Highland dancing talents on the international stage. The 12-year-old will represent Australia at the Highland Dancing World Championships and said she was looking forward to meeting dancers from around the world.
I'm excited for the World Championships. When I'm dancing, it feels like I'm flying.
Excelsior Public School, where Molly is a pupil, recently held a fundraising event, with students and staff wearing tartan to mark the occasion.
It feels really nice to know that my principal and my school friends supported me.
NAIDOC Week events will be held across Australia next week to celebrate the history, culture and achievements of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. In anticipation of the celebrations, University of Western Sydney elders gathered on campus to enjoy morning tea with staff and students.
It's just 1 week of the year where we can work across our community and community work back in with us to recognise the sovereign owners of this country, who are the Aboriginal people and Torres Strait Islander people of the Torres Straits.
NAIDOC Week starts on Sunday and continues through to July 8. Fairfield West resident Tom Megan has taken the idea of being a good neighbour to the next level. The 81-year-old is the unofficial security guard at Westfield Sports High School. Mr Megan has been keeping an eye on the school across the street from his house for more than 50 years. His dedication has now been recognised by the Education Department and New South Wales Police with the inaugural School Security and Community Award. And in sport, the Greater Western Sydney Giants' #1 draft pick, Jonathan Patton, has visited Parramatta Public School as part of the Auskick program. Patton and teammate Matthew Buntine visited the school to introduce children to the sport.
Me and myself, Matt Buntine, are here today to promote the game of AFL in the Western Sydney suburbs and especially Parramatta, and really looking forward to coming out and here and meet a few of the kids and just to show them a few of the basic skills of AFL.
Patton has spent limited time on the field this year, but if his debut is anything to go by, he'll be a household name in Western Sydney in the near future. But for now, the focus is on recruiting fans in the traditionally rugby league dominated region.
It's very important to get them while they're young. Obviously in Victoria we grow up playing the game, and in Sydney it's not as pronounced as it is in Victoria, so it's very important to build their skill base now and get the enjoyment into them, and obviously us being out here really helps them, motivates them to become an AFL player or just play football.
Dubbed the world's fastest growing women's contact sport, a new roller derby competition has started up in Western Sydney. The Fast and Furious sport has found a home in Penrith, with members of the Western Sydney Rollers beginning their first intra-league season earlier this month. Starting with just 10 players 3 years ago, the Western Sydney Rollers have grown to boast more than 100 members in teams including the Hellfire Honeys, the Fear Leaders and the Zombies.
The phenomenon of roller derby is just so exciting. It's so much fun. It's for a variety of people, different ages, different shapes, sizes. It's just for everyone. Everyone can enjoy it, even the spectators.
Players select their own names for the matches, known as jams, where 2 teams of 5 players attempt to prevent the opposing side's jammer from scoring.
So the idea is to basically stop her from scoring points in any way you can by hitting with your shoulders, your back, your bum, whatever's necessary to stop her from scoring points.
The Western Sydney Rollers will face off against other leagues, including Sydney and Newcastle, from July. Girls ruled at a rugby league gala day held in Penrith last week. More than 250 primary and secondary schoolgirls from Western Sydney tackled their hearts out at the gala day, which formed part of the NRL's Women in League celebrations. Girls from Jamison and Kingswood High Schools also played a 10-minute exhibition match in a curtain raiser to the Panthers vs Eels clash at Centrebet Stadium. And despite the name, the new Western Sydney A-League team did not just wander into town. The Western Sydney Wanderers club unveiled both its name and colours this week and announced the signing of 3 key players. Kwabena Appiah-Kubi, Aaron Moy and Tarek Elrich will play for the Wanderers in the club's inaugural season next year. And finally, it's been a busy couple of weeks for Club Marconi's rare Italian Cane Corso, Sabre. The psychic soccer dog has been hard at work predicting the winners for every game of Euro 2012. Sabre's owner, Anthony Lahoud, said the Pooch has picked 17 winners and only 2 losses of the 2012 UEFA European Football Championship.
When I held the 2 jerseys up, each time he looked at me, had a bit of a wobble, had a sniff of both, and then he put his paw on one direction or the other. So I was pretty definite about which team he was going to back.
But Mr Lahoud said that in his heart, the dog will always barrack for Italy.
I think he regards himself as an Italian stallion and he's very proud of his Italian heritage. So definitely Italy every time when it comes to Sabre making a decision.
And that's all the news we have time for. For more information on any of these stories, pick up your local Fairfax community newspaper. I'm Alex Pleffer. We'll see you next time.